All right, go, Jeff.
Welcome to Everyone Racers, a podcast designed for the world of low-dollar racing and oddball car culture. Whatever kind of LeChump or track dog you run, SCCA or NASA, we won't discriminate. We even think you Drifto Hella Flush guys are, right? As long as you built it yourself and drive it hard. Join us each week for tech discussion, tips, tricks, news and notes from the world of low buck racing, and if you can handle it, Chrissy will give you just the tip. I'll be your pit marshal. My name is Jeff. Everyone report to the paddock.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Everyone Racers. Great to have you back again for all 5 people that are back here this time. I'm Chris.
I'm Chrissy.
That's you, Mental.
No, I always in, and I'm Mental. You say I'm Jeff, and we've gone over this. Where are the notes? Read the notes.
Who cares about the notes? Back
right here. This is Chrissy, I'm Mental. Okay, yeah, never mind. All right.
This time, I'm sorry, I threw the feng shui off because I started it because Mental wasn't saying anything. I didn't want the dead air, so I took it. Hey, this is the kind of professional operation we run here, and that's why
this
we
is exactly
have
what
so
you
many
can continue
listeners.
to expect. Exactly. Yes, we're dedicated. It's going to be awesome.
Fantastic.
Hey, we're back. It is Everyone Racers. How's everyone doing? We're all excited to be here. I feel like we actually think we know what we're doing, so we're all getting a little loose.
Well,
so everyone,
yeah, which is why we screwed up that intro so awesome. So, yeah.
I wouldn't go that far, Jeff.
Mental, I got something for you.
Talk to me.
On?
Okay. So, right now, completely not automotive related, I've actually got 2 projects. The first one is in addition to being a high school teacher, I'm the marksmanship coach. So what I'm doing right now is I'm trying to work on some of our precision rifles and use some of our lessons learned racing in order to, you want me to, is this with, okay. So, and use some of those lessons learned and then trying precision that, which is interesting because marksmanship is completely different than auto racing. Movement is bad. Everything you want to do the same thing over and over and over again, but you also want to keep data logs and you want to know what worked and what didn't work. So I'm trying to get my athletes or cadets or whatever the cool word is to focus on that. And the other thing is a guy that's helping me do some modification. He's a machinist friend of mine. In his garage had a 1929 Singer sewing machine. So I just got that all set up in my spare room upstairs.
Woo, sewing.
Yes. And this thing, you could
In
kill
your
somebody
spare
with a
time?
sewing machine. Yes. In my oodles and oodles
I
of
need some pants hemmed.
Grassroots sewing sports.
Honestly, one of the projects I want to try and do is because I've collected so many ridiculous racing T-shirts and blip shift T-shirts and automotive T-shirts over the years that I don't wear.
Are you going to get into quilting?
Yes, I'm going to make a quilt out of a bunch of my old T-shirts. So, it'll hopefully be ready in December,
When
and
you're done with it.
I will settle underneath it.
When you're done with it, I have a bunch of my old T-shirts that I have downstairs just for that same purpose. So now that I've got a quilt buddy, you can make it.
Bring them in December, and we'll see how bad I screwed this one up, and then I can screw yours up epically as bad as well.
You would be a hit at a quilting group. They would love you.
Oh, he's so cute.
Yeah, and I'm older than all of you guys. Oh, and he's so young too.
He's in the Air Force.
What a nice young man.
What a nice young man. So, guns and sewing, that's what I'm doing. Jeff, what are you working on?
Well, I actually had 2 days off since the last time.
Yay!
It was very exciting. I fixed the clunk in the rear.
Get out.
The rig.
We got to know what it is. You got to tell us what it was. What was it?
So Chris is totally right. It was the end link of the sway bar, the Mazda Speed 3 bar that I put into my Mazda regular old 3 2012. But it was the other end. I was looking at the part that went into the sway bar. It was actually in the part that went into the arm. So
I'm glad you got the clunk fixed. I hate that Chris was right because now he'll just we need him to be wrong every now and again, and he's not, and that's annoying.
Yeah.
If he's trying to solve your problem, you should be happy.
He was.
But now we got to listen to him.
Exactly. Yeah. Not only did it.
That's my victory horn.
I'll do this. Yeah, it actually was very simple. So I actually got to mow the lawn and a few other things around the house. But that's not the story I came to tell. The story I came to tell on this week's What You're Working On is, since I had a second day off, I got suckered into / wanted to go see my cousin who is in the Army, lives on the other coast, who was in town for the day. He's got a new baby, new wife. So we were all going to go see them. And he comes out and he's like, Jeff, you have like a GM truck, right? Will you come look at my Yukon? I'm totally like leaking something. So
he has no idea that he has found the foremost East Coast expert on janky Yukons.
Yukons, exactly. So it's a new body style, like 04 or some crap like that, 5.3, totally bone stock, nothing special about it. And there's a big greasy spot under the front of his hood. And it's like, he says, I think it's the power steering pump. I'm like, kind of rare. I get underneath, the power steering pump's totally wet. I'm like totally getting greasy. I'm in my normal clothes. And I'm like, well, this jerk off doesn't know how to fix anything. So, I've got to fix it or else he's not going to get back.
And I do want to interrupt here because people know you from the racetrack, where usually you're wearing some pants that are older than people that are eligible to vote.
Or
knee pads.
Pants.
Or if you're wearing pants.
If you're wearing pants.
But I've seen you in your professional attire, and you do dress very professionally. So it is a huge change from what people normally think of you.
This is a Sunday football party, so I was in an Eagles t-shirt and white plaid shorts, and it's just greasy, disgusting under there. I'm wrenching on it like, this sucks. It's like if you're the tire changer for the Indy 500 team and somebody gets a flat, they expect you to change it, right? So I'm the only jerk off who knows how to turn a wrench. I'm under their brick. I'm like, but I got to help them out, right? And I say, yeah, you're absolutely right. It's the power steering pump. How'd you know? And he goes, oh, well, I just swapped it in like 3 weeks ago.
Oh, no.
He can change his own pump. Why am I under here getting
Well, obviously you didn't do it well if it's leaking.
Yeah, exactly. Apparently he can't. I'm with Chrissy on this one.
But he came to me like wringing his hands like, I don't know anything about cars. Can you fix my car? Fix my car. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I changed that part.
Well, what was wrong with it then? Is it like a seal? He didn't put it on well?
No, it just wasn't.
Some ice cream. I
It probably
swear.
had something to do with good call, Mental. Now, it probably has something to do with the GM power steering being the worst design ever. The way the pulley is on, you have to get the pulley puller and the pulley installer, and
That's
it's terrible, and it never works even with the best tools. And then you have to remove the power steering pulley to pull all that stuff off. It's a really terrible design. You can tell how I really feel about it. Thanks.
Which is why Three Pedal Mafia races Hondas, and the only GM product is in Jeff's garage.
I do have the pulley puller still, but he didn't need the pulley puller. He actually only changed the gearbox itself, like the worm gearbox. So I don't know why the pump. I don't know. Whatever.
It's probably a bad line.
Either way, I was underneath getting greasy as hell, and he knew what he was doing, and he just, I guess it's just like, Jeff, wrench. Oh, okay. Oh, wrench. Get out of my way.
I'm pretty sure the last show you said, I'm the one who just says, I love to wrench on anything. He heard that.
Exactly. He's one of our listeners. Hi, Jeff's cousin.
People are lining up at Jeff's house. They're saying, oh, you want to wrench on my car? Sure.
The car's broken. Okay. Oh, boy, George. Oh, boy.
Right,
Okay, let's fix it.
What are you working on?
We're working on all kinds of things. We started on Friday doing a lot because we have to prepare for a trip down to Jacksonville to get the NSX. The first thing we knew is that the trailer had no trailer brakes after Thompson, so we had to figure that out. As with most trailers, the wiring was done on a cost per piece basis, I think, by the installers. So it's all just vampire clips clipped onto everything and doesn't work all that well. And after 6 years, all those corrode and things and whatnot. I've already made a number of repairs. So this time I said, I'm just getting rid of all these stupid clips. And I did. And I put nice weatherproof connectors on them with heat shrink and redid the whole thing. So now the trailer brakes work. The lights all work. Everything works great. And because I had the wheels off, I said, well, I'd be really stupid if I'm in the middle of nowhere, Georgia, when a wheel bearing gets sad. So, of course, I repacked all the bearings and adjusted the brakes and did all that stuff. And I ordered a new spare set of bearings and a spare hub and drum set and all that crap so that I don't want to be parked on the side of bumble F with an NSX on my trailer when something goes wrong. That's not going to go well. So
it's interesting how active your imagination can get, like anyone's imagination can get when you're in the parts store. And it's always the worst case scenario, like the beginning of a Rob Zombie horror film of, what goes wrong with whatever it is you're towing. And, right after the credits finish rolling, kind of a deal. And you can just envision all kinds of terrible things that are happening. But we can't do that with a race car.
Well, the thing is about
it's not even a race car. This is a fancy car.
And it's not the parts store either. It's the world's parts store of Amazon and eTrailer and Rock Auto. It's like, what do you want? Here it is, and it's $6.
eTrailer. Addicting.
Yeah.
2 days. All right, eTrailer. So I'm typing that into my browser, and I'll probably regret it, but yeah.
So we got the trailer all.
Oh, hold on, Chris is not done yet.
I'm not done. Thanks, Jeff.
Oh, we got a hesitation there.
Hang on.
Okay.
So anyway, get all the trailer all set. We did oil changes in the Mercedes and the Suburban. The Mercedes has been 7,500 miles or so because the Blackstone Oil Labs keep telling me that it's oil looks great at 5,000. So we're going to try it again. But we have to be very careful with the Mercedes. That M156 engine, AMG motor, has a small tendency of breaking the bolts off the top of the heads. And when you can find out when it's starting to happen potentially if you see any sign of water in the oil. So that's why I have the oil analysis done every single time. If I start to see it, I know I have to stop driving it immediately. And then I still might be able to do the one bolt at a time fix of replacing all the head bolts without pulling the heads. Otherwise, then it's a big job. And then I'll call my friend Seth Lemke, who did this on his R63 that's world famous, and get the special tools and stuff and advice from him. So anyway, got that done. Got the wheels and tires. We swapped the winter, which are actually all season Michelin's on because we wore the Continentals that we had from one lap down to the cords on one front tire.
That's part of my update, just so you know.
Sorry, what's on mine too? And I had to make a new hinge for the trailer ramp doors, the little doors that cover the trailer ramps that hold them in to keep them from falling out. One of them, the hinges, the metal fatigued and broke away, so I just made a new one out of some scrap metal I had, made a new hinge, welded it on, and it works great. So we are ready to go on Thursday.
That little door that holds the ramps in?
Yeah.
Yes.
Metal.
The one that you broke. The one that you bent?
Yeah, I definitely bent that.
Yes, the one that you bent now broke off.
That on me.
Yeah.
And into Chris's hand.
I didn't want to say it.
But how long ago did he bend it?
2 weeks.
Which time?
4 weeks ago.
Last race.
The first one.
No. It was loading the car into the trailer before when Eric was here.
Fort Thompson, yeah.
Yeah, no, those ramp door cover things have taken a beating over the years, so I'm not really surprised.
Okay, so now that Chris is done, I will jump in on what I was working on. So while Chris was working on the trailer, I was out in the garage and on the driveway working on my car. So the Mazda needed this throttle body and the accelerator pedal. So both were really easy jobs, which was awesome. So there are a couple different. The accelerator pedal was only 3 bolts or 3 nuts and a clip. And while you have to bend over backwards under the dash, which is no fun, but it was still pretty easy job. And then the throttle body was just as easy. So got that done on Friday, which was awesome. And then I spent Saturday working on washing and detailing my car and the sub, since we were going to be in it for the next weekend for 24 or more hours. Suburban.
The Yukon?
Yukon. No, we call it the Suburban. But yes, so
because I think Yukon XL is a stupid name, and everyone knows what a Suburban is.
So we call it the Sub, and so I did my car inside and out, and we did the inside of the Suburban, and then I swapped the wheels on, brought them up from the basement for the Merc, brought them up from the basement and put them on.
And I think those wheels for the Mercedes are made of depleted uranium. Is even though they're 19 by 10s, which is quite a large wheel, if I compare them to the 19 by 9.5s I have for the BMW, which are rotary forged, it's about twice as heavy. I mean, yes, the car is a little heavier, but it's unnecessarily heavy, and they keep cracking. So obviously that strength isn't going to keep them strong. So who knows?
Well, and I'll actually back you up on that one, because I've got 17s on my Mercedes and I've got 17s on my Suburban, and the Suburban wheels obviously are bigger, but they're lighter than my Mercedes wheels because I've got the staggered ones. And yeah, they are. I've never thought about that till you said that, but you're absolutely right. They are just pointlessly heavy.
The Germans do not subscribe to the unsprung weight theories.
But in the Merc, does it really matter? Because the Merc is a heavy bitch.
That's just their attitude. If it needed to be that way, we would have designed it that way.
It punishes the pavement underneath it.
You will fall under the crushing blitzkrieg of our turning wheels.
Exactly.
Now we're getting offensive.
Awesome. So, is that anybody else got anything for what you're working on? I don't want to cut anybody off again.
No, that means it's time for news and notes.
Okay. Before we do news and notes, I have listener feedback.
Oh,
What? We have a listener?
We got hate mail.
And actually, wait, before we do that, well, we've got to acknowledge our listeners. Everybody say hi to Chrissy's mom.
Hi, Chrissy's
mom.
Hi,
Chrissy's mom.
I was just about to announce we did not hear from Chrissy's mom this week, but we did hear from a couple listeners, and since we're only really giving this to our friends at the moment, I will tell you that if you are listening, just go ahead and reply on our Facebook, and we will read some mail. Listener Sam Sog, also known as
Sam T.
Sam T. Sam T.
The son of Gary.
Has got it. For those of you who were not listening last week, we discussed his bacon and his trunk-mounted sous vide stuff, and he actually messaged me to say, very important, that it was not bacon. It was a giant piece of beef. It was a prime rib, and it was not a sous vide setup. It was an oven, and the only reason it failed is because his thermometer broke. So he just wanted everyone to be sure that he would never cook bacon in the trunk of his car, only on the pants.
Well, that's an important point of clarification. So thank you to Mr. Sam T. for making sure we are correct.
Well, and I love that he wants to clarify how he cooks his bacon, because we've all been to the race when Sagi's there, Saturday morning. Everyone's kind of hungover, and he's just cutting the little tiny pieces, and he's about half hungover, and everybody just kind of walks by and grabs like 4 pieces and mumbles, "Thanks, Sagi."
Or they say, "This is amazing. Did you have some?"
Thanks, Sagi. And it's just this, his little grill sitting over there, like next to a trailer. Well, we're not really concerned about hygiene at this point, so.
I've also woken up, and then there's Sagi grilling on our grill, and it's totally 100% fine. And he's like, "Hey," I'm like, "Hey, okay." Cook away.
And maybe half the time he's wearing pants,
He's usually wearing pants, and the underwear on the outside.
Yeah. We all love Sagi. He just wanted to make sure that you knew that it wasn't his fault, and it wasn't pork. It was beef. So there you go.
So he's one step closer to spam.
Exactly. We have another. Hamza L has chimed in from the internet.
Who's that guy?
Yeah, I don't know. He gave us a list of 5 items he wanted to tell us. He said, "Y'all getting much better." He must be from the South somewhere. "I'm looking forward to the next episode." Hamza.
Awesome.
Hey, Hamza.
"Thank you for using my BMW as the standard for a well-built car."
Yes.
It really is.
Awesome.
"Mental, call me regarding your Porsche."
Yeah, we know that's coming.
"And I'll see you in December." So thank you for checking in, Hamza.
Mr. Hamza L.
Yes, Mr. Hamza L. More importantly, Mrs. Hamza L, who lets him get away with some of that nonsense.
That's true. Mrs. Hamza L is awesome.
Quick reminder, if you want to be read, if you want your missives read about your pork or your beef or your please send me your...
How are your car?
Yeah, or your car, something car related, just write in on our Facebook. Let's move on to news and notes. Mental, start us out.
Okay, so I actually have kind of a lot of news and notes. Now, the first one is, and actually you guys sort of know him, but Dustin and the Fat Crack Racing team were racing at the Chump race down in Sebring. And you guys all know him from the GRM board back in the day. And, back when he was a high school student asking what the Air Force was like, and now he's a lieutenant officer and, does all kinds of cool stuff. But they were down there. They finally managed to finish a race. They have not had the best of luck. And, of course, the Sebring 14-hour was won by Randy Prosp and his team of fellow driving robots, which I'm convinced that guy's been stalking me, because every track event I have been to this year, he's shown up at, including Grid Life. He was there as an instructor, because the guy is just a trackaholic. Chris, what do you got on that one?
Jeff has a "I Love My Rolls Royce" t-shirt autographed by Randy Popst.
It's like on his chest.
Not only
which is awesome. Keep going.
By it. signed by him, but he was signing some girl's clothing. I think it was a hat. And I kind of like stood behind her, like sneaking up on him, and like bared my breast to him, and my Rolls Royce t-shirt. And he kind of laughed, and he said, "Do you have a Rolls Royce?" And I said, "We race it in lemons." He said, "Oh, you're that guy."
You're that guy. So that is a great one. So the next bit of news, and it'll probably already been out there. So today, the day that we're recording this, Ken Block released his Climb Con at Pikes Peak with his Hoonicorn version 2.0, and it's everything you've come to expect from those Ken Block videos. And if you don't like him, well, I'm sorry, because I love that guy and I think his videos are awesome. But at the end of it, as I was watching it today, and it's already like at 4.2 million views, a smoking tire one take was suggested to me by YouTube, involving a manual transmission turbocharged Rolls Royce.
I saw that. I didn't click on the link, but I saw that.
You need to, because I was in school, so I couldn't watch it with the sound on, but I'm pretty sure it's built by the same guy who built the Zero F's Given RX-7 that Farah had on his show a couple of years ago. And it is certainly built in the same ilk of just absolute, complete disregard for anything respectful of the make, and it looks pretty impressive. So check out that smoking tire video.
Oh, you don't have.
I think your microphone went off there.
You're
Okay,
absolutely right. I'd really interested to see how they handle the brake setup on that car, because the way the Rolls-Royce brakes are for 30 seconds, because there's a 4-page schematic in the shop manual of all 74 brake hoses, but it's basically two cam-driven pumps that are actually diesel locomotive injectors turning backwards that pressurize 2 cylinders up to 3,000 psi, and then when you step on the brake pedal, it's actually actuating a fake master cylinder that's under the driver's floor that all it does is open a series of valves to let that brake pressure out to the 6 calipers around. So I don't know how he did real brakes in it. Anyway.
The only way to do real brakes is to rip it all out and plumb an entire new system.
But there's no place on the firewall to put a master. There's no place to put a master and a booster.
But at any rate, so that, along with the Ken Block video, we're going to go ahead and throw that on the Everyone Racers Facebook page. If you guys go down there and click like and follow that, and that's also where we'll be posting all of our announcements with regards to the new podcast and anything else that we're setting up on there. So we've talked about the Gymkhana, we talked about Sebring, and I'm going to end on this one because, well, it's distasteful and I find it hysterical. So at the conference for the Singapore Formula One race, all of the guys sitting on the podium at various points in the press conference decided to basically float an air biscuit, if you want to put it into the...
Rip a fart.
Rip a fart. So so Jalopnik is all over this, and they had some fantastic stuff when they talked about it. Now, the Australians, because they're Australians, put on their press release, how Daniel Ricciardo let out a trouser cough, another good one, and Hamilton also had to drop one, but it said barely made a squeak as he deposited his goods. And it keeps all going all the way down to the end of it, and then it says Hamilton Bottas then appear to give non-committal shrugs before the Red Bull driver unleashes hell. So he just goes through, and he says, "I'm trying to be here now when a buddy just flew a kite right here next to me," which is the Finnish slang term for letting a fluffy off the chain.
Wow.
Which letting fluffy off the chain is my new phrase. I'm going to start eating badly just so I can say that.
Wow.
The secondary hilarious aspect of this is this entire article, which again, well, we've already got that link on the Facebook page, was in fact written by Alanis King, a great Jalopnik writer, not by the resident Jalopnik fart connoisseur, Steph Schrader.
See, I would think he was butt connoisseur. I didn't know that farts were involved.
farts, gas, pooping, anything that exits a posterior is really, I think, her area. And so I actually had to text her and give her a hard time about that. I'm like, how am I reading about farting and you didn't write it? And she typed back in caps, I know. So she's disappointed that story escaped her.
Just like Fluffy Biscuit or whatever the hell it was.
letting a Fluffy off the chain.
I like trouser cough.
Can we just move on?
Yeah, I think
Anyone
we
else
should
got
just
any
move on.
news or notes?
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Go for it.
this past weekend, a couple drinks in, Chrissy and I decided to go on the Pennsylvania Is Your Personalized Vanity Plate Available website, which you just type in the stuff and it'll give you a thing and say it's available or not. So the two ones that we came down to decide if this is going to work for the NSX are, amazingly, this is available, VTEC Yo.
Which I love. I love that. Love it.
Yeah, so VTEC Yo is available. Or NSXY space BCK. NSXy back.
NSX
Yes.
back. And
I love the tie-in because you can always say, hey, how'd you get to work today? Oh, I brought sexy back.
sexy back.
But VTech Yo just kind of gives us
Yo.
we obviously have a good
So
humor.
Funny.
Yeah.
Yes.
I can't believe no one has VTEC Yo.
I'm serious. That is just
I-
awesome.
I'm quiet on my end because my jaw is on the floor that this is even a discussion.
Sorry, we're gonna have the car in hand and then we can decide. But
We rolled our Civic through the paddock of someone else's race, including, what the hell was that?
Oh, that's
Hyperfest.
right. That's what we did. I
Hyperfest.
forgot about that. Hyperfest.
Summit Point.
Point.
Scream at the 14-year-old sharing a beer. Knock out VTech, no!
VTech just kicked in, yo.
Okay. VTEC Yo it is. There we go.
VTech, yo. Oh my God.
Well, hey, do we for our three listeners? Hi, Chrissy's mom. Do we want to put a poll on the Facebook page?
Yes, let's.
yeah, sure, let's
Fantastic.
Why not?
do it after the show.
Okay. There we go.
2 votes.
We've got more posts on Facebook than we have people looking at our Facebook page.
Hey, we
so
gotta
if you're
start
listening
somewhere.
to this, go like the Everyone Racers Facebook page. You can't miss it. There's a giraffe on the picture.
All right. Anyone else got any news or notes?
Nope.
Very good. Let's move on. Topic 1. We got a big topic today. We talked about it last week. We're going to talk about rules, refueling, safety rules between all the different low buck dollar racing that we run. Everything's open here. Chump, AER, Lemons, obviously, we're going to talk about. And this all came about. Chrissy, tell us how this started, because I think you sent the video around, right?
I saw it. I'm sure Mental saw it. It's somewhere between us and Mental. Do you want to give the intro?
Well, no, it was a video. So it's AER, and it was a team running a Mercedes, a newer Mercedes 300. And I haven't talked to those guys, but I've seen them in the pit. And honestly, and this is what's the key part about this is they're not a bunch of bozos. It's a good, well-run team. And it was an AER produced video where they were showing anatomy of the AER race, and those guys pulled in there, and they're following the letter of the rules as far as safety goes. But one of the problems is their gas filler is on the pit side.
So Mental, they're doing a pit stop. You didn't say they're doing a pit stop.
I'm sorry,
Okay,
and they pulled in for a pit stop, and their gas cap is on the pit side, and so they've got the guys out there in the suits, and everyone's got their visors down, and they've got a fire extinguisher on there, but a foot and a half away from where they're refueling the car is people standing in the pits in t-shirts, and I get
they're
it.
helping. They're handing
They're handing gas over,
the wall.
and I've done the same thing, and I've raced in just about every series out there, and I've done the same thing, and I'd never really considered it because the gas cap was always on the other side of the car. So it's not a problem until it's a problem. Now, Chrissy, you mentioned you did some digging for a Fireball video. I actually found the one it wasn't the Hong Nor team, but it was from the Hong Nor's in-car camera a few years ago at Daytona when somebody about 3 paces up,
the
boom,
RX-7. It was an RX-7, second generation RX-7 Fireball right in the middle of the pulling.
What was interesting about that is everyone was fine. I mean, nobody was injured at all because everybody was wearing their gear. So it's an emphasis on how quickly this can go wrong and how complacent people tend to get. And it was a valid discussion that we were all having about, it's not that they were doing something dangerous. They just kind of weren't thinking it through. What you got, Chris?
And that's it. It's safety is about more than just following the letter of the rules. It's following the spirit and understanding what's going on. Jeff, what do you think?
I just want to really quick, because not everyone has run everything. Let's quickly review like the general theory of pitting and fueling for the different groups.
Great.
Okay,
So
that's a great one.
Jeff, start off with lemons. Then mental,
right,
you
so-
can do AER.
So Lemons has 5 gravity bottles only, 5-gallon limit, and they have decided that they're going to keep everyone safe by controlling the entire pit lane. You can't camp out in pit lane. You can't get near pit lane. Anyone who even enters pit lane, full suit, helmet, shoes, gloves, visor down, the entire...
Usually, because I've been to races where they made us refuel in the paddock.
Sure. Well, when they're in pit lane, then yes. And when we are fueling in the paddock, though, I know we are always good about making sure no one's around. I've seen another bunch of other teams that are good about making sure no one else is around. And when the judges ride around in their judgment mobile, especially Roland, he makes sure that everyone is exercising appropriate care and distance from the actual fueling operation.
Now, some things that Lemons doesn't care about. They don't care. They want you to have a 22-gallon fuel cell and 5-gallon cans, but they don't care how quickly you stop, how slowly you stop, how much time you take. They have decided that time isn't the factor. Distance and gear is.
I think they realize that most teams don't have their act together enough for time to be a factor.
I think they know that.
Right.
I mean, they've done video of it.
Oh, sure.
How bad pit stops are.
Even with running with Terminally Confused at CMP a couple weeks ago, a team that has done this a few times and has their act together but hasn't been at the pointy end of the field, they were still running gas cans with small hoses and vents. And I timed the pit stop as I was sitting there watching it. It took 6 minutes from the car stop till the car moved, and that's for 12 gallons and a driver change. Where, Jeff, I know we've done it with 20 gallons and a driver change in the boat in under 3 minutes.
Yeah, and the Honda too. The Honda's even faster. The boat's probably the fastest because we don't have to get in the trunk and hatch and everything. The Ombre, I assume, will get faster as we fix things. But yeah, we have very fast dumps. We have modified our gas cans, which there is some discussion on whether that is legal or not, but everybody does it.
We have the Hunt Sickers too. Those are unmodified and those are just as fast.
Yep. So that's what really goes on at Lemons. Tell us about...
hang on. Also, in Lemons, you cannot touch anything else. You can fuel.
Right.
You can put ice in your cool box. That's it. Stop.
And you can't even, and that's, you can't even do tire pressures. You can't check the oil.
Yeah. And
they'll let you get away with wiping down the windshield, but technically, according to the rules, really not even supposed to do that.
It's a slippery. It's a slippery slope, and then
absolutely.
How do they police it otherwise? That's the hard part.
Yeah, and it's drive out, switch off.
Because they actually watch and they actually care. They have people there trying to be sure things are going well. Some of those people are very good and understand and have the right thing. Other times you get the guy like at Eagles Canyon.
And we'll talk about the guy at Eagles Canyon. That's a great story. Steve and I, one of our fellow racers, Steve. Hey, Steve, how you doing? Steve and I did a arrive and drive with a Honda team down at Carolina Motorsports Park last year, and that was an interesting one because those guys kind of just took refueling whenever they felt like it over in their paddock, and it ended up costing us 30 minutes because Steve McDaniel got a report from another driver, and he called the team owner over. He goes, "Hey, I heard you guys are refueling the pit," and good on the owner. The owner goes, "Yeah, and Steve, all right, buddy, let me tell you how this is gonna go down. Get your whole team over here." And we sat for 20 minutes because he wanted to underscore the point of we're not screwing around, especially in the paddock when you're not supposed to be refueling in the paddock at CMP and everybody's in there all hodgepodge, and that fireball goes up and you've got somebody's 12-year-old kid in the pit next. You've got a real problem, and that's the type of thing that'll just end this entire endeavor.
Yeah, say what you want about Lemons, they really do take safety seriously.
And they do. And honestly, and I've heard others, people, these guys don't take safety seriously. These guys don't take safety seriously. They do, But it comes down to is you're working with each different track and you're using their personnel. Now we talked about American Endurance Racing and Chump. They both use IR readers. So as you pull in, your speed is clocked by these IR readers, and you have their solution is to slow down the speed. If you know you have to be in the pits 5 minutes, there's no need to rush and start doing something stupid. Like the video Chrissy put on the page of the guys like literally slipping in fuel and the can just comes out from his hands.
Yeah, that's terrible.
We're all watching this cringing, waiting for the fireball where everyone dies, because that was like high octane super blue fuel type stuff.
Thankfully nobody was smoking around there.
Yeah, exactly. And AER actually has a minimum number of pit stops. So that's how they get around it, is they don't want these huge fuel tanks where you're dumping gas after gas. For a while, depending on the track, WRL actually allowed dry brake systems. And to my knowledge, that's really the only entry level stuff that allows people to use dry brakes.
Lemons
Chris,
you can. Lemons you can use dry brakes.
Dry brakes? Okay, interesting.
Bruce and Greg did it because, that 6 seconds, that's what was keeping them from winning.
Not the front wheel hub. No. Hey, we should really fix that. Yes, we should. Hey, do you mind fix that? Nah, it'll be fine.
Yeah.
Take the
They're
car.
one of our 6 listeners. You need to be nice to them.
Hey, they'll laugh too.
They'll have to. But so Chump does the same thing. Now Chump limits the fuel cells to stock plus or minus 2 gallons, which is also interesting. And at that point, now you start talking about different strategies, because not just the Honda that you guys run, but other teams have gone with we're going to do one pit stop, suck it up, wear a diaper, get in the car for 4 hours, and especially in some of the slower classes, that's key to winning. You have one quick pit stop in Lemons, and then you just sit in the car and go. Turn laps.
Turn laps. That's how you win an endurance race.
Yeah. Faster cars, there's no Class A car that can run 4 hours on a tank of gas.
We're close. We're 3.5, a little plus, but a car weighs 2,000 pounds empty, and and has a 22-gallon tank. We're about as close as it's going to get.
Yes,
and it's not the fastest thing out there.
No.
We are A-class speed, but we are not.
It's the consistency. Yeah,
exactly.
But
so just a real quick question, because I haven't run Chump. I've run some AER, and the difference I think I found between Lemons and AER is, like, Lemons has a shorter rule book, but they watch it. AER, I think, is a lot more self-policed.
Yes, and I've seen where AER guys have come around going, hey guys, you can't do that, and the guys will turn to go, we did this the last 3 races. He goes, oh, okay, so the last 3 races you didn't bother to read the rule book? So they do rely on AER to kind of read the rules and follow the rules.
Yeah.
That is going to bite them at the end someday. That is so going to bite them. Here's the tech inspection that the Honda went through when it got there. Ready? The guy walks up, looks at the belts, asks me if the date on the belts, is that the day they were made or the day they expire? I don't remember. What is it? So I have to tell him, well, okay, that's the day they were made because I just got them. Thank you very much. This is great. That's it. Tech inspection over. Thank you. Have a nice day.
That has not been my experience with AER, and I'm not going to say that anyone's got the right solution, but that is awful.
And I saw another car that we saw that got through tech inspection with no fire system or bottle or anything at all in it, just at all.
Wow! Like this year?
This was last year.
No, last year.
Last year. Okay.
The race that we were.
So I mean, certainly
for something like that, I would have actually emailed because I'm sure if the AER guys are listening to this, that will get one of them wound up. That no fire suppression system on a car is going to get those guys pretty geared up.
Well, I guess that's the point I'm going to. Is I think a lot of AER guys they're not watching the spirit of the rules. They're watching potentially the letter, and AER is not policing it. And someday that's going to bite them, and I don't want that to happen. I want them to continue to exist. So I think they need to put a little better effort into this.
Thank you.
Hi.
Things like having the people that are in the pit stall not handing the jug right next to the guy in the fire suit. That's not fitting.
I think one of the things Chris was going to talk about was the driver, and actually Jeff mentioned it, the driver in the car. So they strap the driver in, then they do the fueling, and they're talking to the driver. They're just making sure that he's all ready to go. Driver stretches his hands. He's all locked in with the nets. And if something happens, he is going to die. Because if there's a fire, it's going to he has to now unbelt himself when now he's strapped in as tight as he can be. I feel like that's just an added thing that, at least with AER, if not multiple, you're fueling.
Chump does the same thing, and that Fireball in Daytona, they were all fine. And I'm not questioning your logic, but they are, what do you do if there's a fire while you're driving the car?
I think the added safety of the driver out of the car is a no-brainer. It's kind of easy. Like, you're probably pulling and doing a driver shift anyway, so pull the driver out, fuel it, put a driver in instead of any other order.
So in that video that we're referencing, that's from AER, they had, what is it, 3 minutes or 5 minutes?
5.
Okay, so you have 5 minutes, and if you have you have a small gas cell, you have quick enough gas jugs, you're putting the gas in as quickly as possible. You have time, in theory, to do a quick driver change. Leave the driver out of the car, do the fueling, and get them poised, ready to get in. We've done really fast driver changes and belting quickly enough that you don't need to leave the driver in while fueling.
And this is the other thing too. Just because the AR permits it doesn't mean you have to do it. If you guys are more comfortable with, screw that, driver gets out, you're allowed to be tougher on the rules.
Yeah, but this is what AER was promoting as, this is a great pit stop. Everyone should do this. Right? This is perfect. With the girl handing the jug, like, she basically was essentially standing next to the guy pouring the fuel into the car.
Yeah. And this goes back to the point.
Cool.
This goes back to the point that all you guys are making, and this really goes into the theory, is I think one of the big divisions between Chump and Lemons, and then that sprouted WRL and Lucky Dog and AER, but Chump tends to do this they want to do it by a rule book, and they want more and more rules and more and more rules, and I admire that, but I see that whenever you get rules, you're always going to find somebody that plays lawyer ball and gets into that space in between the rules. Lemons does it, I like, on strength of personality. Hey, you can't do that. Why? It's not in the rules. And the infamous words of Big Daniel, because I dang well said so, damn it. And it's working. However they do it, it really does work because it does go on strength of personality, or Phil just decides, well, I decided I'm not going to let you do that anymore because you guys just went and screwed it up, and I don't feel like watching you guys burn alive.
Sure, and Roland is a big safety champion everywhere he goes.
He really is. He is. And so is Steve.
Pagel, absolutely. He is a
tough
guy to knock sometimes, but he's
smart. He's way too smart.
When they tell you not to do something or to do something a certain way, you say, "Oh, damn it, yeah."
Yeah. But now, way back at the start of this, Chris mentioned the Eagles Canyon guy. So this was the Eagles Canyon Raceway down in Decatur, Texas. We raced this a couple times, and he was a local track employee. I don't even know this guy's name, but if you had your visor cracked open 2 inches while you were refueling in Lemons, because I don't know, it's July in Texas, he'd roll over and start screaming at you. Now the problem is he had a 4-wheeler because he wouldn't walk up and down pit lane. So he'd ride over
pounds, I bet.
Yeah, no, he was a normal sized guy. He was just on his 4-wheeler, and then he'd have a cigarette hanging out of his mouth. So he'd come over there and be like, "Hey, you're being dangerous. Put your damn visor down." This is how much of a jerk this guy was. Now, everyone who's listening to this podcast has at least been to some sort of entry-level endurance race. One day, this guy's trying to put his 4-wheeler in the back of his pickup truck, and the ramp is too steep, and the 4-wheeler keeps slipping and almost flipping over. And watching this is 200 or so Lemons racers. Not one person went to help him. Not one guy. Literally, if friggin', I'm trying to think of, some terrible person was at a Lemons race, somebody would go over there and try and help this person. But 200 Lemons racers watch this guy, cigarette hanging out of his mouth, trying to ride his 4-wheeler into the back of his pickup truck. I'll say, I hope it flips. I don't care. I'll go there and pull it off of it, but I'm not going to help him right now. Screw that guy. Screw him totally. So that should be a measure of your life. When no one in Lemons likes you, you have failed. You need to seriously re-examine your life choices. So
then they went and raced Chump. I'm sorry, I didn't say that.
Hey,
No, there are
like Chump.
No, there are
Chump is fun.
there are many wonderful people racing Chump. Just sometimes the douchebag quotient is a little bit higher.
You do you now, and I've actually you talked about AAR, and I like AAR, and I like my friends in AAR, but the people that I don't like in AAR, I really don't like in AAR, and there seems to be a higher percentage of we're taking this way too seriously. To a specific, I run with the road and track team, and some guys next to us were doing some really stupid stuff with fuel. And my friend Mark, looks over, hey guys, dude, you're spilling fuel. You're doing this. And they turned to him and told him to get bent. And it quickly escalated into this shouting match when he was just trying to keep them safe. And it was annoying as all get out.
And it's a small percentage, but they're a vocal small percentage, and they
are a vocal small percentage, yes.
Apparently, they knew that the F1 scouts were in the stands this weekend. So.
Farting.
They're going to walk over to them any second.
They were farting, which means you should be even more careful with your fire.
More chili.
So I feel like we beat this to death. But here's the thing, folks. As
at least
Chris
we didn't
mentioned,
burn in death.
Yeah, fire is bad, and skin grafts are not fun. So if it feels dangerous and stupid, it probably is dangerous and stupid. But let's let and just on the idea of bad ideas, we should probably move on to hella sweet or but terrible.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
It's Jeff's turn for an idea that we can decide.
Yeah,
is it hella sweet or but terrible?
So just to inform everyone, I am about to make the last payment on my daily driven Mazda 3. I'm so
Yay!
And I will briefly describe my home life. I live in suburbia. I frequently get letters from the township. I have exactly 5, count them 5, places I can put a car in my yard.
Why am I the redneck of this bunch? How did that happen?
I used this property. There was so much room to put so much stuff. But anyway, so I have kind of a driveway that fits 3 with a little side driveway that fits 2. I have a single car garage that is filled to the frickin' brim.
He's not lying.
Yeah.
It's filled
with
brim.
not cars.
With not cars. Parked in these driveways. Now it's 3 and 2, so you have to only the one on the outside can leave and stuff like that. 20-foot plus trailer with a V-nose basically takes up 2 spots. Wife's Corvette, and the 1965 International Harvester pickup truck, which was given to me 15 years ago on my wedding day and has never moved.
How does it run?
Hey, I almost got it running one day. It needs a $12 coil, and it would have run.
I have the $12 coil. It's on the front seat. I have never tried it again. So those kind of 3-4 items can't be really. They need a spot. My wife's car also takes up the 4th spot, and that's pretty much it because, like I said, the trailer takes up 2. I mean, it's just that's the way it is.
So then your Avalanche and your Mazda and your Miata.
Well, Miata's going to my father's house someday. So here's what we got. What should I do? Should I get a shed? Should I pave a bunch of more spots? Or should I start saving up and do a combination? Cheapest to most expensive. Cheapest is I can rock a really big space. Move the trailer to the back and all of a sudden have all the space in the world and everything be wonderful. And I'll just, open a fence gate. After that, it's paving. After that, it's big shed. After that, it's actual giant garage in the back, which I can't afford now.
How is a shed more expensive? How is a shed more expensive than paving?
Well, it depends on how big a shed you want. All right, my vote is save for the garage. That's the right answer. If you're going to be in this house for any length of time, more than another 5 years, do the garage because that's your long-term answer. That's what you need. And there you go. That's it. If you're going to be in this house for a shorter period of time, I think you combine the shed with a little bit of paving so you can get stuff into the backyard, get all the stuff that's in the garage out of the garage. So you can actually put a car in there. And then, what's that?
That's key. If I get the stuff out of the garage, then the Corvette can live in the garage.
Sure, but the garage still isn't very big.
No.
And that's the problem. So you have to decide if you're going to be in this house any length of time. save for the garage, do it right. Get some Amish guys there. Just get it up and unfinished. Otherwise, piece it together.
So that method is buy rocks now, buy garage later. That would be my plan. What's anybody else think?
So I'm going to offer a compromise between the big garage, which Chris is right on every aspect of that, pole barn. You can use just the existing soil, but it basically gets a lot of that stuff you want covered and out of sight. So get a pole barn. And there's still no reason you can't hire a bunch of New Jersey rednecks or Amish people to get up there and just get you a pole barn, like a horse barn.
Yeah, we got Amish. I can definitely get Amish to build stuff. So, Chrissy, what do you think?
I think you should invest and save the money.
Nah, no one wants to hear logic. Shush.
I'm really into investing right now. So
thanks, Dave
I think
Ramsey.
You should invest.
I have been a maximum contributor to my 403b since the day I graduated. So I haven't
so much more opportunity there.
Here's a hand for you, Jeff.
I gotta race cars.
Exactly.
Yeah, and your driveway's a mess, but
if we were financially responsible, we wouldn't do any of this stuff. Tell me again there, Dave Ramsey, what you're doing next weekend?
Hey, I think it's a financially responsible thing to do to buy an Acura NSX because it's not going to depreciate. It's like a forced savings plan.
We chose this,
right?
I
So I
had a chance to buy one for
Investing
$18,000, and I
car.
wish it would have worked out because you're right. Because now you can't touch one for that.
Right. Absolutely. You can touch a parts one for that, maybe if that. But even still, that car's not going to lose any money, and I have to keep. I'm building equity in it, and it's like with the BMW.
Okay.
I got the equity. I sold it. There you go.
We'll talk more about our car next week.
True.
Yes,
move on.
So Chrissy, so you say investing, I say pole barn, and Chris says garage. Jeff. All right. So we're going to want to know what that decision is here on a future episode.
I am getting my cousin to come out and give me a estimate on a whole lot of rocks, probably this weekend. So
I think that's not a bad idea.
Rocks are free.
It depends on where you get them from. They're from your neighbor's yard. They're free.
Come and put it down and grade it, move my fence. They are not free.
Okay, well then put the pole barn on top of your rocks.
Yes. Well, the rocks will be an extension of the current driveway so that I can hide the things away from the front door, and I'll stop getting some letters from the township and things like that. So.
Yeah, they were not happy when the Civic was Mr. Fister living in your front yard for a while.
You have a really sexually explicit theme in your Lemons car, and it sits in your driveway for a little while. Everybody.
Whoa. Let's define little while there, Spanky.
It wasn't that long. It was like 3 months.
Only like 2. It wasn't very long at all, but then your neighbors loved it. So.
All right. So we are really. This is going to be a great episode. Jeff, you should probably introduce the next segment.
My notes are missing. What's the next segment?
Just the tip.
Just the tip.
I'm sorry.
Chrissy.
Yay. Okay, so we'll make this one a quick one. So we're trying to really focus on what the most important piece of pit equipment would be. And since we talked a lot about safety this week, we're going to talk about the fire extinguisher. So do you really know how to use a fire extinguisher? Think about this for a second, all of you in podcast land. You see them around. You look at them, you pass them by and say, great, I haven't looked at it in a while. What if I need to use that? Do you know how to use it? The first thing you need to do is check and make sure it is charged. The little needle.
Charged? I paid cash.
You're funny. So the little needle needs to be in the green section.
So you plug it in?
No plugging in. Just look at it to make sure it's in the green. And if it's not, or it's on the edge, maybe it might not work if you have a fire. So you should probably get a new one. And then the next thing is if there's a fire, you need to learn how to use it. And I actually use the fire bottle when we do pit stops. That's usually my job. But basically, pull the pin. You need to do pass, P-A-S-S. Pull the pin, aim it, squeeze it, sweep. And you're sweeping at the bottom of the fire. In a pit stop, you're going to be...
a broom?
Yes.
Gosh.
And hey, the other thing, when you're doing the pit stop, point it at the driver, not the car.
Yes.
Well, to say that, I'm sorry. So this is my segment, right?
It's not in your notes.
It's in what I'm going to say. So when you're at a pit stop, you're going to aim it at the driver, not at the car. You're going to make sure the driver is safe. Hopefully the driver will run away, and then you can assist with any fire. Don't try to put out a big fire. That's the big answer. Or just hope you don't need it.
Run away screaming.
No, this is the thing. So in the Air Force, I had to take a fire extinguisher class, and they lit a pan of gasoline on fire, and they had us actually do this. And Chrissy, I'm so glad you said aim at the base of the fire, because a lot of people try to aim at the top of the flames, which is pointless. And the other thing that a lot of people, unless you've actually had to fight a fire, don't realize, that first gust, when you hit it with a fire extinguisher, it's going to expand those flames because it's spreading that fuel for a second before it robs it of oxygen. So it's not just Chrissy being Chrissy. Chrissy's being smart, which, unless you know her personally, you don't realize how smart she is. So listen to what she said.
Awesome.
I'm a safety professional. Listen to me.
Boom. That just happened.
You sell propane and propane accessories.
Shut up.
Wow. This has been awesome, though. I know this. I know we ran long, but I really dug this episode. Chrissy, what do you think?
Wow, there it is. Thank you for joining us. Everybody's shaking their head. Just read the credits, Jeff. We hope you enjoyed this week's edition of Everyone Racers. We hope you'll join us in the world of driving, racing, and building, because everyone can be a racer, even you. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe with the iTunes button or wherever you get your podcasts. If you like us, email us and on the Facebook and tell us what you think, and we'll read you on the podcast next week. What a great thing to do. Everyone Racers Facebook page, or like our team Facebook, 3 Pedal Mafia Lemons Race Team. If you'd like to help us produce this show or pay for Jeff's pole barn fund, please donate at patreon.com/Everyone Racers. Thanks again, and until next week, keep the shiny side up, unless there is no shining side, and let's just keep the wheels down.